Welcome to Patriarchy.com, where we help you become a more virtuous leader for your family. I'm Will Knowland, and on this channel, Daily Patriarchy, I answer all your questions in the comments in video form every day. I also document our progress towards strengthening society by rebuilding the patriarchy one family at a time. Thanks to your support, this new channel is up to 559 subscribers, 14 videos in. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, and share this content with anybody you think might benefit from it. You can also help out by engaging in the community we're building here. So if you have a question about anything in this video or any other videos on the channel, just leave your comment and I'll respond to it. Now, you might also like, if you were serious about improving your marriage, our coaching community, Marriage Mastery. We're at 102 members now. This is great value at $297 a month for 24/7 support, around the price of just an hour of decent marriage counseling or therapy. So look into that if it's something you really want to work on. You can also have a look at our main channel here, Will Knowland at Be Her Leader, 18.1k subs currently, with lots of long-form content to help you grow in your marriage as well. So on to the questions for today then. I will skim down to the bottom and then we can move back up to the top. D asks, Will, what is your thoughts on IVF for children? Doctor has told me and my wife it's our main option. Well, obviously, I'm Catholic, so I follow the teaching of the church on IVF, which is that it's never okay because it's contrary to natural law for various reasons. The big one is really that it violates the dignity that all human beings have from conception by treating them as the subjects of an experiment. It also involves a third party in the marital act. So that's a big problem. It doesn't actually respect sex. It doesn't respect the dignity of the human person either. You can look into the Catholic teaching on this in more depth, but basically it's never permitted. So obviously that's my stance too. There's also some interesting research about the fact that children who are the product of IVF often cannot themselves have children. Super interesting, worth looking into just as an extra consideration if you're not Catholic and you aren't persuaded by the natural law arguments that form the basis of the church's rejection of IVF. Pedro asks, I will, besides praying for it and doing small acts to improve this virtue, how would you guide someone who lacks courage? Is there a good book I could immerse myself in daily to spark it? Well, I'm not sure that a book is going to spark fortitude. Virtue is something that you develop by doing it because it is a habit. So repeated actions that take you out of your comfort zone are going to be really helpful there. That's the main thing. And yes, of course, you can pray for it too, and pray for opportunities to actually grow in it. As far as a book could be useful, though, it might actually help you to understand a bit more clearly where you're struggling exactly and why. Because fortitude, when it comes down to it, is really related to fear. And I would recommend having a look at the writings of the German Catholic philosopher Joseph Pieper, and his books on the cardinal virtues could be really interesting for you. I've just chosen a couple of points about fortitude that I'd like to share with you to get you motivated to go and read some of his work. You could have a look at a brief reader on the human heart, the 4 cardinal virtues. There's even one on fortitude and temperance. You can also start with the anthology that he made of his own work towards the end of his life. So he writes that the essence of fortitude lies not in knowing no fear, but in not allowing oneself to be forced into evil by fear, or to be kept by fear from the realization of good. So it's okay for you to feel fear. Fortitude isn't about having zero fear. It's just about making sure that you do the right thing despite the fear. So ask yourself if there are situations where you're being prevented from doing what is good, from actually realizing the good because of a particular fear. And what are you afraid of, really? That's a great question. What actually are you afraid of? He says that fortitude points to something prior, okay? So your deepest motivation has to be about doing what is good. And if you really focus on that, that's going to be the source of your fortitude. Your commitment to that good is going to help fortify you to actually go after it and get it done. If you're struggling with a lack of fortitude in a situation, well, perhaps that good, perhaps your prior hasn't actually been clarified for you sufficiently so you can actually hold fast to it. So to explain this further, he says the brave man must first know what the good is, and he must be brave for the sake of the good. Let me give you a marriage example, since this is the Patriarchy channel. A guy who is afraid to have a hard conversation with his wife is effeminate in that he is lacking the fortitude necessary to do the good thing of having that hard conversation that is going to improve their marriage. Okay, maybe the wife has been disrespectful and the husband knows this isn't good for their connection and it's going to harm their marriage. He has to actually focus on correcting that. If he doesn't, then maybe he's not actually fully focused on the good of the marriage, right? He's not actually loving enough. He's not willing to go through that tough experience that he might rather avoid of having that hard conversation. So he needs to know what the good is and be brave for the sake of it. The essence of fortitude is neither attack, nor self-confidence, nor wrath, but endurance and patience. And this is so important to think about. Endurance and patience being the essence of fortitude. So it's not about getting just pumped up in the moment, psyching yourself up for some split second where you really go and face the thing you're afraid of. Instead, it's actually making that good that you're being brave for the sake of your frame, okay? Think of it as being like your North Star, the thing that guides all your actions long term. You need to recognize that in that sense, there's no real finish line to it. You are just going to be this kind of guy. Come what may, you are going to hold to this because what really grounds your no to being forced into evil or grounds your no to being kept by fear from the realization of the good is fundamentally your integrity, the thing that you really want to live for, the thing that you are about. And obviously that's going to be deeply connected to your masculinity as well. So figure out who you are, what you're about, what your relation to the good is, and what you are trying to realize moment to moment. And that really is the key to fortitude. The lack of courage to accept injury and the incapability of self-sacrifice belong to the deepest sources of psychic illness. All neuroses seem to have as a common symptom an egocentric anxiety, a tense and self-centered concern for security, the inability to let go. In short, that kind of love for one's own life that leads straight to the loss of life. What a great way to put it. So if you can't accept any kind of injury, if you're unable to go forward with any kind of self-sacrifice, then in a sense that is mental illness. Big point, isn't it? But that's actually true. A lot of the time, what people are really idolizing is comfort in the moment. But the irony is that by doing that, they end up somewhere deeply uncomfortable in the end, okay? The culmination point, really, of a spiritual life dedicated to just the pursuit of comfort is going to be hell, ultimately. That's where you end up without fortitude, without the other virtues as well. So definitely think about that. You can lose your life through excessive love for your own life in this sense. Now, what is really at the root of that egocentric anxiety? Well, I believe it's often pride. The assumption that you know best. You know the outcome that's right for you, and you've decided that it shouldn't involve any kind of injury or shouldn't involve any kind of self-sacrifice. Now, that's the problem, isn't it? Because you don't know best. It's best to actually do the right thing, trusting that it will work out for your spiritual benefit, and God has a plan that's better than your plan for yourself. So I think really fortitude, when we're thinking about what good you're trying to realize, comes down to trust in God over trust in your own desires to make your day-to-day life, your moment-to-moment life, as comfortable as you can. Don't turn comfort into an idol. You hear on social media a lot that men do hard things, and this is supposed to be motivating. But when it actually comes down to it, and you have to have the fortitude to step into that and live it, a lot of people find excuses. However, no pressure, no diamond is a good maxim to think about when it comes to our spiritual development. So you actually want that pressure. So look for the situations, be grateful for them. All right, next question. Thanks for that one. That was good, Pedro. Lex says, thanks for the videos. Thank you for watching. If you got any questions, Adam, I'll answer those next time. And Louis asks, thanks for the daily videos. Thank you for watching. As a man in celibacy who seeks for marriage, is it a bad thing to have female friends of the same age in my social area? Does it make me more effeminate? Should it be a thing to avoid as long as those girls are only for friendship and not for dating? In which way can we define a good man-woman friendship if it exists? Okay, well, if we just look at basic church teaching here, there's nothing intrinsically sinful about a friendship between a man and a woman. It can just be an expression of charity. So there's nothing wrong with it in itself. You are using the word effeminate there to mean girly, but that's not really what it means. Effeminacy is actually related to fortitude, which we were just talking about. So it basically means you are overly attached to the pursuit of pleasure in a way that stops you doing the right thing because it involves some sort of difficulty or discomfort. What you're asking is being friends with girls going to make you more girly? Not necessarily, unless it does actually involve an inordinate attachment to pleasure or flattery or whatever it might be. So you need to know yourself there. Yes, it is true that in principle, a male-female friendship can be a good thing. However, practically, what often happens is that it can be an occasion of sin for obvious reasons. Because of the fact that the sexes are made for each other, most of the time, once an emotional connection between friends develops, then the way nature is arranged means that that is going to lead to physical attraction and physical connection, okay? The same thing happens in marriages. Once the emotional connection breaks down, the physical connection often breaks down too. So you see it everywhere, inside marriage and outside marriage, between men and women. So when you're really building that emotional connection through a friendship, in a sense, you're playing with fire. And yes, it's possible to do it well, but even priests and nuns comment on the difficulty of that. So in general, most guys should exercise extreme caution here. And for many men, it's best just to avoid friendships with women altogether. That's just being realistic about the playing with fire aspect for them, given their weaknesses, their temptations. If you recognize that it really is about charity, then you can also take some extra steps, like only seeing each other in public, for example. Okay, that's going to add a lot to the safety of the situation. Hopefully that helps. That goes for guys who are married, thinking about having female friends who aren't their wives. Yes, it's possible in principle. However, it's likely in practice to lead to problems. So most of the time, for most people, it's going to be prudent to be, at the very least, extremely cautious about it, and in general, probably best to avoid it. And that is because realistically, most people just don't have the virtue for it. Now, if you've enjoyed this content, head over to patriarchy.com/start. You can join the patriarchy.com support community. This is a group of men who are all supporting each other, growing as leaders. We look at questions like how to lead without using words, how to navigate arguments, how to uphold boundaries, how to protect and provide emotionally, and more. We're currently at 270 members. This is great value at $9 a month. So if you're interested in growing in these areas, go and check that out. 99 out of 100 people who join love it. Literally, our churn is just 1%. So build some great friendships there and start taking action. There's enough information on the internet. If information was all you needed, you'd have solved your problems already. We're about action and transformation, not just information. All right. If anything in today's video interested you and you want to know more, or you've got something else that's been bugging you, drop it in the comments now. I'll answer it tomorrow. Take care. Thanks for watching.